Good morning, Quiltube. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I don't celebrate, but I used to. Anyway, good morning to you all. My Amy Cub, Ray Dunn. My sister gave it to me for Christmas a couple years ago. I love it. So, I have a little update, and I'm going to do a little show and tell, and a little show you how I do something. But I'm going to show, first of all, something I got in the mail. So I had showed this last month, or last video, which was about 2 weeks ago. And I subscribed to the Fat Quarter Shop, Fat Quarter Club. And this was the first one that I received. So based on when I made my payment, I suppose, I got whatever was coming in the mail next. And this was a back shipment of an October subscription. And you can look at my last video. I went through all of the individual fabrics, but it's Prairie Petites, and I think it's a Bunny Hill fabrics, but they're red, white, and blues. And then I got the next one, which is Newport Petite, and these are all Minnick and Simpson fabrics. I'm not going to take this one out of the bag because I want to keep it in the bag, sorry. But it comes with the little, it shows you each of the different fabrics, and then it has all the SKUs and stuff on it, but it's Newport Petite from the Fat Quarter Shop. Here we go again. Update. They are just gorgeous. So I've got quite a bit now of the red, white, and blue theme going on, and so I am going to have to start making a project for that. While I'm thinking about it, I was looking for something else, and I found a flag that my mother made for me quite a long time ago. Let me run over here and grab it. While we're on that theme, here is the flag my mother made for me, with little blue star tabs on it. It has seen some better days. It's been folded up now and put into a container, but I haven't put it on my front door for quite a while. It's like a panel, and she just quilted around some of the, not all the stars, but some of the stars. She quilted around it, and then down some of the stripes. But this I would hang on my front door. What I did was I gathered this all together like this. These are safety pinned on the back in case we needed to move them or it wasn't big enough, whatever. And then I kind of did one of these little things and put it on the hanger on my front door. One of those little hangers that hangs over the door and then has the hook on the front side. So that's what I did with those. So while we were on that theme, I thought I mentioned I was looking for something else. I didn't find it, and it's all for my St. Patrick's thing, and I'm going to show you something here in a minute. But I also want to show you the latest sampler box that I got. This is January's box, and this is the cover for it. So I apologize if you haven't opened yours yet, but there's a pattern on the back, or a code for Fat Eighth bundles and coriander quilt patterns. So inside here, we got a cute little pin cushion. This is very reminiscent of this one that I got in one of the boxes, this little red and white gingham one. So I am really, that's so cute. So later today, when I go set up my quilting station in the dining room, and I'll show pictures or video of that later, it'll be a separate one. I'm going to have this down there next to that machine. I think that's where that will go. Then, also in here was a little glue bottle. This is the Acorn Precision Piecing. And if you watch any of Kimberly's videos, she uses this to hold down some seams while she's sewing. But this is ideal for quilting, sewing, and applique, but it's just a little glue bottle with this tiny little precision. That's the key word here, precision gluing. And she's been using it to hold seams together while she's sewing. So I might give that a try. It always comes with the little card, the long card here that gives you a little description about everything that's in the box and how much it was worth. And then this is the pattern that's exclusive to the box. And Quilt or Daydreams quilt pattern, and it's an exclusive for the fabric that comes with it. And you get everything you need except for, I think, the backing and maybe binding and border fabric. But you get the stuff to make the little blocks. So you'd have to get your backing and stuff like that. But it's cute. It's very cute. And then there is a monthly sew along. So here's the pattern for the bright side. This is by Sherry McConnell. It should be almost done, I think. It ends in March and starts in April, or ends in April and starts in May. Something like that. I haven't done any of those sew alongs, but I'm saving all these cards. So I have everything. I've been doing this for a couple years. And then also came in here was this cutting gizmo by Gypsy Quilter. I took it out, put it together. I'm trying to figure out how you get it apart. I'll have to read the instructions. But you put your used blades inside of here from your rotary cutter. So that's interesting. I'm going to definitely give this one a try. I have a cutter, but it's very, very small. And I think I dulled the blade that's already in it. But this one here, you can change out the blade. So I'm definitely going to give that a shot here pretty soon. And here's the Luscious Fabrics. And let me just make sure that what I'm telling you is correct. So let me get my little card. It's a beautiful day, and it's a 12-piece fat eighth bundle. A Beautiful Day by Corey Yoder. And here are all the different fabrics. It's a red dot. Red dots with more dots. Here's like a gray gingham. A red floral. It's showing up pretty true, the colors on here. Here's another, it's kind of a more pinky floral. This one here has like, I don't know, it's just a dashed dot green. Here's a gray floral. That's pretty. So pretty. And here's a pink floral, just like the other one, just in pink. And then a red floral. That one's showing up a little more red than it really is. Here's a gray floral. Isn't that pretty? Ooh, 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 ooh. This little stems. It'll look like wheat or something of that nature. It's another pink floral. And a green dot with dots. Love it. Love, 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 love it. Beautiful, beautiful fabric. And I might make that quilt. I'm not sure. Right now I've got other things to think about. So I'm going to give you an update on some things and story and show and tell. All right, let's put this aside. All right, so I'm going to show you my only St. Patrick's Day quilt. It is a table topper that I made last year. Pat Sloan did a pattern, a free pattern from Fat Quarter Shop. And I'm going to link that free pattern. Forget what it's called now. Mini Muffin, I think it's called. But I'll put a link to the pattern on their website below. And I did one kind of just like what she did. Yeah. It's, we modified it a little bit according to the pattern to make them look like 3-leaf clovers. And then did like a chain thing in the middle. So they're all 9-patch blocks. These are done with some green fabrics that I have purchased from Joann Fabrics. I did a wave quilting on it. And the white is a white on white that look like little shamrocks or little 3-leaf clovers. I love the brightness of this. It's so cute. Here's the back. It's done with one of the greens in the back. Just a little floral. And then the binding. So on this side, there's the green dot. And on this side is like a green crosshatch. Green and yellow crosshatch. And then oh, it's the only two that I use. But I mixed and matched them. So like on from one corner to the other, middle of the other half is one. And then the same with the green dot on the other side. So they kind of meet 3/4 of the way down each side of the quilt. So I did a little, and this has been sitting out on my end table in my dining room. And then I took a little picture, and I'll have that posted too. And so I have to get rid of my Valentine's stuff. I had made, this too was, I think, a free thing on Fat Quarter Shop. I don't know if it was last year or the year before. Let's see. It was last year, I believe, where they were doing like heart quilts, little heart shapes and stuff like that. And so I took the pattern and made myself a little pillow cover. I used Luscious Fabrics and Allison Glass, a mix of them all. And I used a variegated thread to do the quilting, and I'm not sure you could see it, but in some places it's pink and red and white. And then this is the back side of it. It's just an envelope one, and this is going in the wash now, but I just took it off the pillow that was there. And inside, I did put a lining on the inside when I quilted with the K-Facet fabric. So thought since that's going to go in the wash, I'd show you something else that I had made. Because you're only seeing things that I'm currently working on. So every now and again, I'll throw in something that I can show you what I have made, or an antique quilt that I have. So we'll go. Right now, that's all I have pulled together to show you, but we'll try to do it again one day. So last time I videoed, I need some coffee. I recorded, I did a video. I was negotiating for an overnight shift. Well, I ended up working 7 p.m. to 3 a.m. to work part of that overnight, and then the morning person came in early for her shift. But on my way to work, my car quit. Well, it didn't quit. The cruise control, I had just passed a semi. Okay, I take Interstate I-90. I just passed a semi and just got right back in front of him. And all of a sudden, the cruise control just went out and the car just started to slow down. And I'm like, ah! And the semi is behind me. So I quickly moved over into the right shoulder and just kind of let the car do what it was going to do. It coasted. And I tried to step on the gas, and it was a little hard to get any movement in the vehicle. And then if you kind of take your foot off the gas and then press it again, it was okay. So I drove in the shoulder for just a little while, and then I got back on the interstate when it was clear. And I was only 2 miles away from my exit. And I couldn't get it more than over 60 miles an hour. So if I fell below that, then I put the hazards on. And so I got off on my exit, and I couldn't cross the intersection to make my left-hand turn. And very fast anyway. It was going very, very slow. So I took all the back streets where there was less traffic, and it was after 7 p.m. in a real small town. So I made it to the hospital without any problems, and I did send a message, or I called my son to let him know that I might need you to come get me later. So anyway, I made it through my shift, and at 3 a.m. he was going to follow. Xavier showed up, and he was going to follow me. I was going to try to drive to the dealership, which was probably 16 miles on the road, but I couldn't get it over 20 miles an hour, and it was kind of like and I wasn't going to deal with that. So we pulled into the Walmart parking lot and parked it, and he took me home. So when the shop opened at the dealership in the morning, I called them, and they went out and picked up my car and brought it in. They weren't able to work on it. That was Friday morning. And they weren't able to even look at it until Monday. So I borrowed my mother's car. I did not want to go that route. She had just loaned out her car for 3-4 weeks for my sister, whose daughter had a car accident. And so her car was in the shop. So I just didn't want her to be with her car any longer. But I did need to get to work for the weekend. I was off at Friday. So I borrowed my mother's car for the weekend, and then Monday, when they told me they were going to look at the car, I called a few hours later, and I said, so what's the status? And she said that the engine failed. It just failed. I was going to get a new one on the maker of the vehicle, not my cost. So my sister had this problem with her Kia. Okay, I have a Kia Sportage. She has a Kia Soul. And she had this problem, and at 91,000 miles, her engine failed. And she got a new engine. At least I think that's how that story goes. And mine, I was just under 58,000. And I got a new engine. I picked up my car yesterday. So just before all of this happened, I had gotten brand new tires for winter, and then while it was getting the new engine, I went ahead and brake pads were thin, so I had those done, and the 60,000 mile transmission fluid refill, flush and fill, and I think filter, cabin filter. And so I picked it up yesterday. Holy buckets, I have a brand spanking new vehicle, and I can get another 100,000 miles on it. So anyway, what this paper, you know how they give you these little papers that tell you what the problem was, and they were very, very vague in the explanation. And I got the impression, based on some conversation, some little tips and the verbiage she used, that this is a known problem. And every time you bring your car in for oil changes or whatever kind of service you're bringing it in for, they check for certain things. And mine never seemed to fail any of those tests. But what happened was failed bearing clearance test. She kept talking about bearings. Bearings, 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 bearings. I don't even know what that means. But anyway, it was a failed engine. I got a brand new spanking car, and I only had to pay for the transmission flush and fill and the brakes and the cabin filter. So I got a brand new car for very little money. I'm pretty happy about that. To a certain extent, I was a little nervous. That first inaugural trip yesterday to work, I was a little nervous that it was gonna stop at the same point that it stopped the last time. So, but we made it just fine, and I think we're gonna be okay. My sister's been going on for several years after her engine change. So, and she just drove it to Colorado. Her birthday's tomorrow, by the way. So, Erin, if you're watching, happy birthday! I love you. I miss you. We're planning to go out and see her. Mom and I we're getting together tomorrow to look at airline flights and ticket and see if we can book our flights. But I took the time off from June 1st to the 7th. So hopefully we'll be making a little trip to Colorado. I'm excited about that. And so Mom and I are going to get together tomorrow and then go out for Friday fish fry. And then I'll work over the weekend. So anyway, let's get on to some quilting updates. All right, I'm going to pan over. There's Color My World. There's a blank spot over there. And I'm going to show you that now. But I finished all those buildings I was working on the last time. And I finished the houses. So I'm going to show you the one house I took off the wall. Here she is. I got to test, like, I want to paint my house. I don't know, you can see that top one on the north side. It's gray with like a eggplant windows and a door. Well, my current house, the house that I just bought, is gray with purple trim, and it's eventually gonna get changed, but it's purple. I'm not kidding. I mean, like, real purple. It's not like a eggplant or anything in that nature. But anyway, so I used these little houses to kind of test what color would I like to paint my house. So here's a navy blue one with yellow door. The windows are yellow just because, you know, the light shining through. And I have my treetops here. I still have to applique those down, and I still have to applique down the trunks and the branches. That will go down. Let's see if I can show you that. That will go down on here. So these are the long strips of the dark. It's like a dark green, but yet it's almost black. It's so green, dark. You can see that. But anyway, what I did was I took a chunk of that fabric and I ironed down some fusible webbing and then cut it into 1/4-inch strips. And what I've been doing with, like, the center trees that are on there with the trunks and the branches, I did a very, very tiny zigzag stitch all the way around in a matching thread. So I will do the same thing with these. But I am now on these corner main structures, I guess you could say, because they're not really buildings per se. Some of them are. A couple of them are. And I'm actually going with the ones that are in the pattern instead of trying to create my own. So that's what I'm working on now. This is the next pattern. I'm working on Big Ben. These are going to be monstrous. And they go in each of the 4 corners. So this is where I'm going to do, this is how I do it and put one together with you. And there may be some fast forwarding with music if I can figure out how to do that, or it may be I'm talking through the whole process the whole time. I have to find a place to put this. Okay. And so let me put this back. Let's set this aside. So here's what I've gotten done so far. And what I decided to do, I went through my fabrics and I pulled out all of the lights in there. I had Googled some images of Big Ben to try to determine a color scheme for this. And so I decided to take all the lights and I put them in, like, the light to dark order. Some of them are kind of gray. You can see in there, they kind of go in a gray tone. But I thought maybe I would stagger them so it would look like it's an old building. So not all of the stones look exactly the same color, right? That's kind of my thought. So I'm putting it together and we're going to see how this goes. And then I did the same with some of these, like, yellows or golds that I have for windows. I did the darkest one at the bottom, and now I went to, like, the next light one. I only have 3 of those, but I have 7 of these neutral colors. So I was staggering them throughout to see if I could get this old building look. And we're, you know, if it doesn't work out, I'll do it again. But I really kind of like the way that's headed. I know once it gets up, once I finish it, and I changed my mind. But so far, I'm liking the way that looks. So with the patterns coming here, the templates for the patterns, I'm going to show you a little glance of it because I can't give away the pattern, but they're on these copy paper. I printed on black and white copy paper at work. So I traced it onto freezer paper. And here's the next pattern that I'm going to be working with. This template number 4. There are 10 of them in this building, and you just keep sewing them together. And I use Reynolds freezer paper. Rip it off. I use my light box to trace. This is my light box. I don't have the, I got it on Amazon. It's really kind of it's not the best. No suggestions to purchase this one. I think I paid $16 for it or something like that. But when you plug it, you have to plug it in. It doesn't charge. So you plug it into the little cord over here, into this little slot. And then you press the button and the light turns on. Well, it doesn't stay on. If you put pressure on it, it kind of dims. And then all of a sudden it brightens up again. It does the job, I'll put it that way. So I'm not like putting my patterns on the window pane anymore. Anyway, so it is doing the job. But I may at some point, if I do more of this, I think I might, a lot more, have another project of this, I might get a better one just so it's easier. However, so with all the other patterns, you had to make like 4 of each of the patterns. Well, in this case, I only have to make 1. So I could necessarily sew right on the paper. However, the printers that I print these on, I print them at work. What I've learned from previous experiences, the toner rubs off and it dirties my fabric, and it's just no. So I go ahead and put them on these papers, and I use a Sharpie, and I used a blue one when I grabbed, but I use a Sharpie, and right on here it doesn't smear, doesn't come off, and I like the precision with this a little bit better, honestly. I really like this method. I learned how to do the freezer paper method by doing a sew along with Sugary Doo. She's Irina out of the Netherlands, or in that neck of the woods anyway. And I didn't finish that sew along. So that's a UFO. And this is the cabinet behind me that I still have to go through with you yet to show you what's in there in the tour of my sewing room. So maybe when I get this finished and get it ready to get quilted, we'll go through that, so that, because I'm going to have to start another project, and I'll have to show y'all, you know, other the ones that I already showed that are sitting up on the top of the cubbies. I'll show you the others that I have over here, and I have to make a decision as what I'm going to be working on next. So right now, this is top priority. I'm so close. I'm so close. So I'm going to put this one together, and you'll go through that whole process with me. So I'm going to make sure my iron is getting hot here. And I have to decide, first of all, the decision is that I'm going to start with number 1 on my template. Now, if you did this so long and you're following along and my numbering looks a little different, it's because I did it based on what my brain likes to do, okay? Because I get a little confused very, very easily when I get started, but once I get a rhythm going, we're okay. So number 1 is a window pane here. So I have to decide, do I want to continue on and do another of the same yellow, or do I want to go on and do a lighter yellow and then kind of change it up as I go, or do I want to do each one different? Decisions. I think for this next one, I'm just going to stick with the same color that I did for the last one. And that is this one right here. So I need to cut some pieces. So come on down. If I can get this thing to come down without scaring you all to death. So I need to have a piece that's going to fit a 1/4 inch around that whole number 1 space. I'm going to pull out my jelly roll strip here, and I am just going to leave it the same width, but I'm going to lay it down here so that just a little bit of it hangs over the edge here, and I'm going to have it fit this whole space right here. So I'm going to cut off here. Doesn't have to be perfect, no straight lines, and as you can see, it is hanging over on both sides. So it's definitely going to work, and it's going to fit in there. So we're going to start by ironing that down. So what I want to do is put it face down, the good side down on my mat here. And then I take my pattern piece and I make sure that that number 1 fits, centers inside of there. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to lay this out. I'm going to be wasting quite a bit of fabric, but actually, hold on. This is what I was doing. I was folding these in half. I need 2 same size. So this is what I did before. I'm going to press a little, my ruler, press a little mark down the center so I know the center. And this works for that. And they just cut that off. So now I've got, oh, I need a new blade. So now I've got 2, 1 for each of the 2 windows. So I'm going to lay 1 piece down, put my pattern with the glossy side, the waxy part, down on top of the wrong side of the fabric. I'll lay that down and then just iron. I don't care if the whole thing gets ironed to my board, I just peel it up. So there we go. It's all stuck on there. I can see in the light, if I look through the window, put this up to the light, you could see, and I don't know, you could see the shadow. There's no light behind it, but there's at least a 1/4 inch on either side. So what I want to do now is find number 2. So this is my number 2 pane right here. And I'm going to set this other piece aside until I get to that. I'm going to take I made a plastic template to help with binding and things like that. And then I sliced right through it on accident. So I don't know if I'm going to make another one or not. But anyway, I may need to at some point. I'm going to put this right next to the number 2. Make sure it lines up with that. I'm going to put it this way. I put my template upside down. I've got number 2 on the next side. I'm going to put this up right on the line. And I'm going to fold everything over the top of it. And then peel my fabric back. Scratch off any of the fabrics. And then pull that template thing out. That way I get a nice crisp fold on that line next to the fabric that I am going to be sewing to the one on the back. So now I've got this excess that's hanging off the edge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to cut off at a 1/4 inch. So now I have a perfect 1/4 inch from the edge of the paper to the fabric. So now the next piece is number 2, and there's a B next to it. It's a building. So I need to pick the building fabric. So based on my system here, I had 7 of these neutral fabrics. And what I did over here is I set them aside and I put numbers on them. Love my method. And so this would be the next one that comes because I used number 4 in the top of this one. So now I'm moving on to number 5. And I'm just rotating these as I go. And so I'm going to take my little clip off here, grab my piece of fabric, and I'm going to cut this exactly the same way. So I need to make sure that it's going to fit. So here I can line up the edge of the fabric that's hanging out from the other end. And I can just slice this off. And what I'm going to do is, since I don't want to waste all of that, I'm just going to fold it in half, do a little finger press, cut it in half. I only need half of it. And I'm not going to use this half in this template piece to do that one, so I'm just going to stick it in here with this bunch. So I can use it again for the next one. Put my number on it, put my clip back on it. And then I set it over here to the side to the ones that I've already done on that side. And then number 6 is next, which would be piece number 3. So I'm going to grab number 6, pull my template off. There's the extra piece that I had there. I'm just going to cut it the same size as this one, approximately. Again, doesn't have to be perfect, and I should change my blade. All right, put this back, set it aside, and then I'm going to need number 7 because I need 3 different building pieces here. I'm actually going to need 4, but for these vertical pieces, I need 3 building pieces on either side of the windows. So I'm going to grab number 7. All right, so now this is number 1. This is number 2. I put them in this order over here so that I know which one comes next. And cut that off. That's number 3. I need 3 pieces. This is my other window. This one here is going back on here to use next time. And then there is a building piece that goes all the way across the top of these. And then we put the background pieces on either side. So I'm pretty much just working on that center section for now. So I'm going to need the next piece, which would be number 1, because I went through number 7. So I'm going to put 6 on 7, 5 on 6, 4 on 5. I hope this makes sense. 3 on 4, 2 on 3, and grab number 1. And then I work my way down the pile again. And then this batch of fabrics that I have sitting over here, these are kinds of greens. I'm thinking for the next building. That's going to be the One World Trade Center, One World Center, whatever it's called. And this, I just want to make sure it's going to fit on this piece. And it is going to, it's at least 1/4 of an inch on either side of the line. And it is definitely wide enough to fit in that space. So I'm going to put that right there. And set that aside because I've used it. Next will be number 2. All right, so now we're ready to sew, to put this together. So I trimmed my piece off. So this is how this works. So I'm going to grab the first piece. I'm going to put these 2 right sides together. And I'm going to sew right next to the paper here. So I'm going to go over here to my sewing machine. Let me move this. That's my iron. And we're going to slide over here to the sewing machine. And I'm going to sew right next. I'll hold my threads down right next to the paper. Trim off that extra. All right, I'm going to come back around here and I'll move my iron out of the way. So now what we do, those 2 pieces are sewn together. I'm going to fold back this piece to bring it back into alignment. And then we are going to take that piece I just sewed right sides together and fold it back. And I'm going to iron it flat to the wax paper, to the freezer paper. I don't want to put my iron on the wax too much, but I wanted to get it down there so that I could make sure that when I turned it over, I'm just going to iron that one side, peel it off of my ironing board, And there we have number 2. So now I need to fold over on the number 3 line for the 3rd building piece. So I'm going to grab my template plastic, put that on the line, fold it all over, peel back my fabric, scrape off those little, I hate pinked edges. Just saying. I know I'm not a big fan of pinked edges. I love pre-cuts, but I don't like the pinked edges. So I fold that over on the number 3. And now I'm going to put my 1/4 inch line from my ruler. I'm using this 1.5 inch ruler, and I like the solid dot. And line that up right next to my paper, trim that off, and see, this is all that I'm wasting, and it's going in my bin here. I have done several blocks, and this is garbage, you know, little tiny pieces that I can't do anything with. Some of them I probably could, but I'm not going to. So now I'm going to grab the next building piece, right sides together. Make sure they're right sides together. Some light, it's hard to tell. So I'll flip it over and make double sure. But I'm going to sew that together on the line. So let's come over here to the sewing machine. I don't know how much you're seeing. I'm not even paying attention to what I look like on the camera here. Good. Okay. Oh, I should tell you about my Leaders and Enders project too, before I forget. At least mention it so I don't forget to do it. Because for this, I'm not going to do the Leaders and Enders. I'm just going to put my thread in there. All right, fold my paper back. So I have a flat piece, lay it down, take my sewn piece and flip it over. I'm just going to tap it so it just lightly sticks to that paper, and then press it. Press, 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 press. I don't have any water in here, so there's no steam, but I'm not afraid of steam. Nope, 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 nope. So now I'm going to fold on the 4 line, and the next fabric piece is going to be a window piece. 4. Peel back my fabric, scratch off the pinked edges that stuck. Make sure that that's right on the line, and it is, and then I'm going to trim off 1/4 inch so I have a seam in the back. And I'll show you what those seams look like when we're done here, when I peel it off to attach it to the building itself. So now I'm going to take that window piece and I'm going to put it in here. I'm making sure that I can see where my lines are using that Sharpie pen. I can see the dark lines. It needed to at least fit on either side, that it hangs over 1/4 inch on either side. Right now I'm just kind of matching it up with the bottom of it so it all hangs over the edge. I'm going to make sure it's going to cover this entire space. And if I put it up to the window too, I can tell that there's enough fabric on the other side to cover, or I put my fingernail even on the edge of the piece there, fold it over and make sure I at least have 1/4 inch hanging over to fulfill the other seam. All right, I'm going to go over to the sewing machine. I'm not going to take you with me, so just stare at my ironing board for now. I'll be right back. Alright, toss my thread in there. I don't know if you can tell, but that's where my thread is. Let me peel back the paper. That's where my seam allowance is. It's right along the edge of the paper. So then I'm going to fold back my piece. I'm going to fold back my fabric. Do a little, I'll do like a finger press. fold it down to make sure it doesn't flip up on me, and then iron it to my wax paper. Everything's sticking. Everything's sticking really, really nice. So now I'm going to go over to number 5, and I'm going to put my template folder, whatever, on that line and fold everything back. Tell you, this freezer paper stuff was a game changer for me. I didn't have a printer, and so I used the one at work. And that ink on that paper comes off, and especially when you're using an iron and you steam things. That's all that I have hanging off. All right, so then number 5 has a B on it. That means it's a building piece, so I use my next building piece in line. Grab that, line it up with the edge, and sew along the paper. I'll be right back. Okay. Getting there. Talking this through makes it go a little slower, but so I'm going to fold my paper back. Thank God. I have been having the habit of having these facing the wrong way, you know, the back side of the fabric in the wrong direction, and I've had to, on these other pieces for this building, and unpick and resew. All right, so now we've done all of the pieces for the center. Now I need to do this top building section right here, which is, these look like this top piece right here. So I'm going to place it down. Oops, wrong side. Got to see my line. Place this right on the line there. I don't have anything to line up on either side of this, but I just make sure this is lined up here. And I'm going to fold all of this over, peel all of this back, just so that only my paper is here and I have all this extra. So this is what I'm going to have to cut off the 1/4 inch from. So I folded my paper across the number 6 line, crease it really good, and line up my ruler and trim that off. So this is the scrap that I have from that. But it gives me a nice 1/4 inch. I'm not leaving. In some instances, I have been a little short, but as long as I have at least 1/8 of an inch of fabric, I've been okay leaving it that way. Only because this quilt is not going to be used to cover a person. It's going to hang on a wall, a decorative wall, and on a wall to be a decoration in my home. So I don't intend to wash it at all. I might get it dry cleaned or something if I have to. But I intend to like vacuum it or something. But I'm just not going to put it in the washing machine. I don't want to. I don't want it to shrink funny, and I just want it to be a decoration on my wall. So I might, it's too big to frame because this sucker's huge. It's big, big, big. All right, so now I need to put, is that the right side? Yes, it is. Okay, right sides together. And now I want to make sure that it fits between the 2 lines on there. So I line that up. I don't know if you could see what I'm doing here. Try to get into a different view here. But I want to make sure that it's fitting on both sides and that I have at least 1/4 of an inch. Try to see, I can see where my fabric is ending here and here, and it's fitting over the line. And then I'm going to put my finger on top of that line right there, and I'm going to fold everything back and make sure I have plenty of fabric on the other side. I don't know if you saw any of that. I'm looking at it myself and not paying attention. So it's fitting perfectly. I'm going to go sew this and I'll be right back. All right. I sewed all the way across, even though there's only fabric on, you know, part of it. So my line, my sew line, if you can see it, is right across there. There it is. See it? I'm not a teacher. I apologize if, you know, I'm just trying to talk my way through my process and how my brain works with this whole foundation paper piecing process and how I do it, and trying to so I'm not sure. You'll have to leave in the comments whether or not it was useful, if I should do this again. Well, this is how I do it. I'm not teaching you how to do it, but this is how I do it, and this is how I was taught. And I will share with you the people who teach me so that you can go and watch them, because they were really good teachers. All right, so now we're going to move on to the background sides. That's this BG background. And this I have up here is template number 4 for Big Ben. So that's my little symbols for it. So now we're going to go, and I can do either one. It doesn't matter which one. I numbered them 7 and 8, but I don't have to follow it in that order. Just have to do them. So I'm going to put my template up against that line there and fold everything back. And scrape it clean. I don't know why, not necessary. Make sure that I'm on the line. And then I'm going to trim off this excess. Ooh, look at that. It's like a hair left. It didn't even, it's still stuck to the board. Look, that much. I'm not really like wasting a lot of stuff here. All right, so now I have to get, excuse me as I readjust myself in my chair. I need to get some background fabric out of here. It's on the second shelf here. I need to cut a strip, and I can get 2 out of the one strip I'm on here. So I'm laying my fabric out, and I know I need a piece that's going to fit. I want to fit within the window here. So I folded it over, and I need it to fit there and to the edge of this here. So now I can take my ruler here and cut a straight, I'll cut a straight piece. Try to be as frugal as I can with this background. I have plenty to do this project. I just want leftovers. I want lots of leftovers. All right, so now I want to cut the length of it. So I know I need to have it fit up to that line there, because that's my cut line. This inside line on the inside is the 1/4 inch. This is where I'll put my ruler 1/4 inch and then cut all the way around the outside edge. So this is my seam allowance space right in between these 2 outer lines. So I know I at least has to fit that way. And if I just cut this in half like this, it should be plenty. And then this piece should fit on the other side, which is the same. So just make sure it's going to fit in there. It just fits. If not, I'll cut another one, because they get a little smaller as they go up. So this piece would be useful on another one. So right now I'm going to work with this piece. Put right sides together. And I can see that I've got fabric through there, that it covers that line and it covers this line. And I can see that it's going to cover, put my finger on the outside line where we're going to cut, fold it back, and I have plenty of fabric. So everything is fitting within the space. It gets a little hairy when you get little angles and stuff. It's very tricky and taxes your brain a little bit because you're working backwards with everything. So, but it's fun. I find it such a challenge and I enjoy it immensely. But you know, I had to take lots of breaks when I first got started on this one because it's very repetitive and I get a little ADD. So I like color change, so I'm thinking that this one's going really well for me because I'm changing all the different colors, and I can't wait to finish this to get it to the next one to see how that's all turning out, to see if those old limestone stones from the building are going to, if that's the look I'm going to end up with. That's kind of where I'm going with that limestone look on those old buildings. I googled some pictures to see. And plus this, I had a lot of this fabric left over, either in the layer cake or in the jelly roll strips that I had purchased. Okay, got that. I'm going to trim that off, and then we'll be done. Nice garbage piece. All right, so now we're going to be very careful here. I'm going to line up the edge. And I can see that I'm hanging over on that side and that side. I'm hanging over on that side and that side. And I have extra over there. All right, let's sew it, and then we'll fold it over and see if it fits. See if I was right. And then we can do the woohoo dance. Got that piece worked out. I don't know if you can hear me. All right. Fold my paper back. Fold my fabric back. I don't see any paper hanging out. It worked perfectly. All right, now we're going to press this real good to that freezer paper. And again, I have a tendency to call it wax paper, so forgive me if I've done that and you are frustrated with me for doing that. So now I'm going to put my ruler on the inside blue line for my seam allowance, and I'll cut away from there. It may not match up with my line, but or the line that I drew from the template, but that's okay. As long as it's 1/4 of an inch, it's been working out just fine. Throw that out. And we're going to trim off the whole piece. I have very little waste, you guys. I just love it. Just love it. Well, with Sugary too, also Irene, whatever, wherever, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. I think she calls it Irena. But the other thing she did was she took that paper piece that she traced the template from and cut out all the individual little pieces and numbered them, and then put them on fabric and cut them out around the fabric, leaving 1/4 of an inch at least on the outside edge. I didn't do that with this. I kind of like just folding all the paper back and placing it on the fabric and just cutting around it. Sometimes I waste a lot of fabric, and sometimes I don't waste any at all. So here's the finished template piece. All of the pieces have been sewn together. So now I'm just going to peel this off of the back of this. And then you can see all the little seam allowances that were sewn on. So they're all perfect 1/4 inch seam allowances. And based on how you fold the fabric back on your template and where you started is which way your seam allowance lays. So it's a little more difficult to kind of have open seams, you know, pressing open seams. This, I haven't even attempted to try to do that. I could with these last two, you know, on either end. I could open that up, and now when I do that, I can feel that there's quite a bit of a bulk right there. It feels better to me to have it laying flat. That's how I kind of test which way I want to do my seam allowances in regular stitching, not with the paper piecing. I just let these fall where they fall. And if I have to get out the clapper, and this isn't a clapper, this is a made by Jackson's Woodworks, and I bought this on Fat Quarter Shop website. Love it. I absolutely love it. All right, so now I'm going to grab I'm going to set this aside. I'm done with that. So I'm going to grab my building that I've got done here. I'm going to lay this on top. It looks so nice. And then I'm going to flip it upside down. I'm going to grab a pin and I am going to line this up with the edge on the corner, put a pin in there, and then what I had to do before was match up these seams just a little bit, just to make sure. I don't know, some of these were hanging over the edge, so I had taken them out and redone them. But, you know, if you look at the template, I mean the picture, and I'm assuming this is a picture of a real finished one, then the seams aren't lining up all that great. So I'm not, and sorry, I haven't been you know, if it's more than 1/8 of an inch, I can get a little wacky about that, but I'm not a huge, I don't worry about that too much. So, but then when I put this one on, I was off quite a bit. So I don't know. I think what happened was I started too far. I had this hanging off too far. So anyway, I'm going to just, because when I lay these together, the ends just meet perfectly. So it should all work out just fine. I shouldn't have to pin anything in between here to line up any seams. Everything should line up just fine, and I can see that everything's kind of working out okay. So as long as I don't pull and stretch on it, everything seems to fit from end to end. So I'm going to go sew this together, and I'll be right back. All right, moment of truth. I'm going to lay it down. Actually, I like doing it this way. Move this out of the way in case I'm going to set my seam. I didn't do a lot of setting of my seams while I was doing that because there's a tendency of getting the iron onto the wax, and I didn't want to do that. So I'm folding it this way because this is a flat piece and not a bunch of seams like on this side, and it lays a lot flatter that way because all of the seams on this piece are right at the bottom there. All right. It looks like this and this are lining up perfectly. Now I'm just going to press this. And there we go. We have our next building piece, and then the next template number 5 is just a hair larger, and it's going to get bigger and bigger as it goes up. And this is the next piece, and here is where the clock face goes. So that's number 6. So I don't have any fabric that has a clock face on it. I'm gonna look through my stash and see if I have anything with a circular face or circular motif. I'll bring you up here because we're done with this part, so let's bring you back up here. Hi. So I need to find something circular here that will fit inside here. My first guess, my first inclination, unless I find some fabric, is to draw it with a Sharpie or what are those other marking pens, that fabric pen or something like that. Again, I'm not washing this quilt, so I could draw in the numbers, the Roman numerals, and go all the way around and draw on a face. But I don't know. I haven't decided. In this picture, it's just a fabric that has some sort of central motif on it, and they just fussy cut around it. So I might try to find something like that. I've got some pretty cool tulip pink fabrics that have like eyes. I also have like the I forget what the name of the collection was, but they've got these women's faces on them. I used that as a backing fabric for a quilt I made for my niece. I'll have to now that I mentioned that quilt, I'll have to post a picture of that. But that's yeah, I'll do that. I got it on my phone. Her husband was in the Marines, and at the time that they got married, he was still in the Marines, and he had been deployed a time or two, I think it was. But he drives with those, flew. He's not the pilot, but he was like the engineer person who kind of watched all of the knobs and dials and the lights and flash things, what they did. But the Osprey, they were helicopter airplanes, and they're huge. So he worked in those. So I made a Road to California block and modified it, and it looked like there was a heart or hearts in the center, and I did pinwheels in places for helicopter blades and stuff like that. And it was red, white, and blue. But the back, I used a tulip pink, Halloween, purple fabric with faces. So she likes to change it out. So all during the year, it sits on a chair with the red, white, and blue flag blocked piece in the front. That's pretty normal. And then at Halloween, she flips it upside down. And I love that. I absolutely love that about it. So I'll have to show you that. But I still have some of that purple fabric, and I'm thinking there might be something there that I can work with. I'm pretty sure. So I'm going to go look at my tulip pink stuff, and I'll let you know what I come up with. I'll post pictures of it or something on Instagram. But anyway, so this is fun. I'm enjoying working on these big buildings because I'm so close to finishing now Big Ben that I can move on to the next one. And I've only got 4 to go. And then I can start sewing all of these pieces together and get it put together and go from there. So it's gorgeous. I love this quilt. There was something I was going to show you. I was going to update you on my leaders and enders. So I am pretty much, I still have some work to do on this, but I have a Lori Holt Happy Vintage 2. I've got this put together, and I think it's going to need to be a little bit bigger. This is 12 by 12, if I remember correctly, my measurements, but my leaders and enders have turned into, I've got a couple of these. At least I know I have. I've got a lot of pieces put together. So I'm ready to start like building a bag and putting a zipper on it. I think I'm going to put lace or rickrack or something on that too. And got a bunch of pieces here. So I'm ready to put a bag together. Looks like I'm only going to have enough for 1 bag? Part of 2? I don't know. But I am going to be working on this here within the next week and get that going. But I have like a top strip, I don't know, where the zipper will go in between the two kind of thing. So I'm working on that. When I got done with putting those all together is to a point where I can start building a bag together, I went back to my previous ones and I made quite a few. I had quite a stack of them. I'll show you. I don't think this is all of them, but here we go. I've got a stack of leaders and enders. I'm gonna start putting these into 4 patches. So there's some ideas of what we got going on there. Love the color. All right, so this video might go long because I am going to do a cross stitch update. It's going to be a separate piece that I'll attach to this. But I think this is it for now because I'm kind of focusing on this. I'm going to move on. I'm going to do another video for my setup with my Baby Lock Jazz set up on the dining room table. I'm getting ready to start getting that section of the house of my quilting journey together. That's the quilting station where I'm actually quilting sandwich pieces together. So I'm getting ready to clear off the dining room table and get my Sew in Love, and I'll show you that later, my Sew in Love quilt together, and start pin basting it and then work from there. So I'll show you that later, but right now I'm going to take a break. And so of course this is all going to flow together easily for you guys because I'm working really well with this editing tool. So we'll see how this goes. Right now we're at 1 hour and 10 minutes. So this might be quite a long video. I didn't think it'd be this long, to be honest with you. So I apologize if it's too long, but we're going to put the cross stitch at the end. And because I'm a quilter, I cross stitch in the morning and in the evening, but my main day when I'm off, like today, I do all my quilting. So I typically do that when I'm working before and after work. And so it's sorry, I don't know what I was hesitating there for, but I like to quilt, and I like to cross stitch too. Don't get me wrong, but that's not my main phase here. So I will show you my cross stitch updates. There's a new start. There is possibly another new start that I'll have in a couple of days. There's one that I kind of lost interest in. Anyway, this is a little hint. Stay tuned. Updates are coming. Thanks for watching. Hello, everybody. So this is part 2, the quilting station down in my dining room. So I'm going to turn you around so you can see what we're looking at, what I'm looking at. This is my dining room and my setup. I have laid out the first quilt I'm going to quilt on this new machine. This is Sew in Love by Laundry Basket Quilts, Edita Sitar. Get you some close-up looks. Some applique. Those are the only applique blocks in here, but this is the applique version of the Sew in Love quilt. I ordered the monthly, or the block of the month, through Fat Quarter Shop. I believe it was actually 2018, and I started with, I got the first block done, and then I had cut some pieces wrong and stopped, and then I picked it up a year later and finished it, over a year ago. So it's time to get it quilted. This is the backing fabric I'm going to use for this. So that's the first process. I'll need to do is make sure I have enough, and if I need to cut it and piece it together to make to fill the back of the quilt. And then I need to find a binding fabric for it too. So I'll have to order something if I don't have anything on hand. So there's my machine. And then over here is a secretary desk and a quilt ladder where I have hung the quilts that need to be quilted. And my secretary desk does hold, I'm going to go around this way, doesn't hold a whole lot, but it's going to hold at least the essentials. So on the bottom shelf over here is all my shipping supplies for my Etsy shop. This little container right here is the raspberry ice cream quilt K-Facet fabrics that I'm hand quilting. I have not picked it up, so it's in the container, and I just stuffed it in there actually. To the left of the batting is all the backings and binding fabrics for all the quilts on the ladder. And let me move this chair out of the way. And this is the batting that I use. It's 80/20 Silky Blend. I love how this drapes. And I get that from the Fat Quarter Shop. It's, I think, exclusive to them. So it is a polyester and cotton mix, but it's just super soft and luscious. And up here I have my Proudest to Be Awesome cup where I hold my big fabric scissors. I like using this Sew Line Air Erasable fabric pen to mark my quilts. It all disappears. I have a Tide pen in here, wrapping paper cutter. I have an X-Acto knife and a rotary cutter. I gotta get a cutting mat down here. And then I have this Omnicraft square up ruler. I use this for squaring up the corners of my quilts that are done and ready to be bound. I have binder clips, wonder clips, all in that little container right there that my mother made me or bought for me years ago. So I use that to put my bindings on. And then the new little pin cushion I just got out of my Sew Sampler box. I'd have to bring some pins down. And a little fake plant that my sister gave me. I put in one of my bowls. And so here we have our quilts. On top is, and this is really in no particular order, but I've got the Diamond Diva Flowers for Freya fabric collection. I have the American Quilters Sew Along with Primitive Gatherings. I have a couple pillow tops. They're in Christmas fabrics. Not necessarily Christmas theme fabrics, but they're in greens and reds. And then on the bottom I have my chandelier quilt that is made with Allison glass. Underneath these two I have my Oh Dear quilt, baby quilt. It's got a red minky on the back of that, so that'll have to get quilted. So those are my quilting projects, and it'll all be done right here. Okay, so now I'm going to set up and we're going to do the final cross stitch update. So we'll see in a little bit. Hi, we're back for the floss tube portion, the cross stitch update. I'm going to do the whips and go from there. First one is Back to the Grind by Silver Creek Samplers. Using all the called fors on this one, and it is 1/2, and it's on 32 count cappuccino. Oh, I have to remember that because I didn't write any of this down. So this is where I am with that. I'd finished all of the extra little stuff on the G. I did bring this to do this. All the little extras and finished off the G, and then I started the R, and I made a mistake. I didn't go down far enough, so I'm ripping all of this out. And then this, I didn't start up high enough, so I'm going to rip all this out too and start over. But I really enjoy this one. I just had a bad day that day. Yeah. And it was twice in the same day, so I did it in the morning and then I did it again in the evening. But that's where I am on that one. Set that aside. Next is Tilly's House by Teresa Kogut. And this is where I am with that. I did the pink leaves down here, or salmon color. I think it's a terracotta color. And did some of the green stems in the middle of each of these to finish those off, and then I'll go through and put the flower tops on. I don't know if I'll continue to finish the border. It seems to be my go-to, and then work in the middle, but I may need to change this up a little bit because this is getting a little much, and I think I'll just do a little bit at a time, just because it's a lot. There's a lot of little spaces in here to fill. So I might start something in the middle just to change it up a little bit, but I hadn't worked on this one in a while, so I am now back to work on that. That is on 32 count dirty linen, or 36 count. I can't remember, and I didn't write it down anywhere. It's on my card, and I left all the cards in the bags. That is, yeah, 32 count dirty linen. And I did change out the Oscar for 3011 DMC. There was no Oscar to be found when I ordered those pieces, so there's that. And next is Bristol Berries, and I'm working on this piece right here. Next I'll work on this because it's going pretty quickly. So there's that, Bristol Berries, and that's by Erica Michaels. I am using Classic Colorworks Berry Cobbler, a silk, and I just love it. So I think where I was, very cobbler. I think where I was I had to fill in the roof up here, and then I did all the windows, and it went so fast. And then I did this little border here all in like one day. I finished this off, and then all the windows, and then did the top border, and then I did the first street address and the second street address, and now I'm right at this point. So I'm getting pretty close to being done. Here, let me hold it up for a little while longer. Get a little closer view. And so I don't have much to do. I just started on this border here. I'm doing right to left. And then I just have this part here to do, and it should go very fast. So I'm really excited about that one. I really like that. That's a fun one. That was my birthday start, so I started that on February 12th. Let's see. We're going to move to this one. And it is Winter Rose Manor. Here is the pattern. This is a Brenda Gervais, Winter Rose Manor. And this is where I am with that one. I'm doing it page at a time, so I'm almost done with page 1. And here's where I am with that. I fixed my bad tree up here, and I found out that these were not right either. So I ripped all those out and redid them. And then I also realized I had made a mistake up in this little thing. I had started with the white, but there's a little inner border in there that I didn't do. So I did that. I took all the whites out that I did and put the inner border in. And then I decided, I don't know that I really want to put all that white in there. Plus, as you can see, the same called for white. It's roasted marshmallow. I can barely see it. You have to have the light just right. So I'm not sure I'm going to keep that white. I may change it to something just a little bit darker so that I can see it from a distance. But that is so pretty. So, so pretty. And then on the 13th, again, I forgot to do my 13th. So, and this one here is the Nevermore Darktober, my Darktober stitching. And to be honest with y'all, I'm losing interest on this one. I did do this section like on the 14th, and I really wasn't into it. So I don't know if it's a permanent situation, and I don't know if I'll pick it up next month, but we'll see. So this spat is down a little, way too far, because we're off like a whole like half an inch up here. So all of this is way too far down, and I don't want to rip it out and redo it. And I don't know that it actually even matters, but none of this lines up like it's supposed to. This is supposed to line up here. So it's really bad off. And I don't know if that's part of it, but I don't know. I can't say that there will be an update on this one going forward. We'll see. Wherever my mood takes me. And I had a new start. I started Scattered Seed Samplers Humble Gathering. He is a cutie. And here is where I am with that. And it's going really, really fast. So I think I'll have this one done pretty quickly. I did change out one of the colors. It asked for 3012 DMC, and it was just a little too light. Some of this is kind of greeny in here, and so I could barely see it. So, because this is 1/2. I could barely see it. So I changed it to just a hair darker. It's actually 3011. So, and then those little berries that are on there, the orange and the reds. I finished that basket, and now I am working on the center bunny. So that's a fun one too. So that goes along with the Acts of Kindness one I did with Scattered Seed Samplers. And that is with the, like they said, the called fors. but I changed out for the 3011 instead. And I have a lot of it, and so there's a whole bunch of it tied to my floss bitty, but not my floss bitty, my floss drop. So those are pretty colors. They're almost fall. And then I had a finish. I finally finished. Get this up here. I finished Baby It's Cold Outside. And I like it. I'm going to put it in a frame. I'm going to find a frame. A frame of myself. I'm not taking anything to a framer to do for me, but I will be doing them all by myself. Do I have the pattern so I can tell you what I sewed it on? I don't know where it is. Oh, here it is. It's sewed on 30 count old Salem linen that I got from the Primitive Hair. And this is the pattern. And I did it on all the called fors. With my heartstring samplery. I said that right? Yep, I did. Okay. So that is another finish. So I've had 3 finishes this year. And it's March, still middle of March. I'm excited about that. I have to fully finish the other scattered seed sampler one. And then I'll fully finish these 2 together. And hopefully I got enough of the stuff from Lady Dot Creates to finish off. I think there's a squash velveteen that will look back good on the back of this Humble Gatherings. And I got a blue one that'll look really good on the back of the Acts of Kindness. So, and then I got some chenille and some, I showed it in my last video, those little pom-poms and silk ribbons. So I don't know how I'm going to finish it off yet. I'm not sure. I've never done it, put it on the outside edge. So I'm going to have to find some videos. And if I find one that I learned really well from, I will share it. So I like that. Here is my March calendar. I don't have a whole lot of stickers, so I'm hoping to grab a few more, find some more. But again, what I'm doing on here is I put the initial on the day of what it is that I'm sewing. Like here it says HG, and then over on this side I'll put, like it says HG and then the name of the actual pattern, so that way I can fill this up if I work on many things at one time. I'm trying just to put cross stitch. I do quilting in here as well, so there will be there's some CMWs on the days. That's my color, my world, and so I'm keeping track of all of that. And then I think in the next couple of days I might start something new, just because I need something new. And I am really excited to work on Scarlet House Smith Sampler. I really want to work on this one. I need one of these bigger pieces in my life, to be honest with you. I don't know how long it'll take me to finish it, but I am going to start that. It is going to be stitched on 32 count Cream and Sugar by Fiber on a Whim. It is so pretty. It's just so pretty. There's no modeling. It's just very, well, there's a little bit of modeling like that. There's a little bit in there. Just a hair, just a little bit, not a whole lot. And I am using the called fors, and I've got the silks right here that are called for it. Aren't they pretty? Oh, they're gonna match so nicely with my decor. And then the DMCs too. Get those laid out real pretty. So there's the DMCs that will go with that. Very, very nice, right? Again. Ooh, Ooh, touch the thread, especially the silks. Oh, look at how luscious. Luscious, luscious, luscious. And they are from Classic Fabrics. It is Walk the Plank, Limestone, Oatmeal Scone, and Rustique. Very nice. I'm in love. So that'll be fun to have something to, and I may just pick it up once a month again. It might replace my Darktober. I may pick another day for it. Today might be nice, but I'm a little busy. So this is the end of the update on my cross stitch. This is the bag that it's going in with my little rabbits on the back. And on the inside, one of my practice pieces for my first vinyl. So that's going in that bag. So I'm gonna start editing these 3 videos into one and get that try to get that up tonight. I am leaving in a few hours to go to my mother's house. We're going to do some research on airline flights to go to Colorado the first part of June, and then we're going to go out for a Friday fish fry. It is Friday the 18th, and again, happy birthday, Erin. I think we'll get cake. We always love an excuse to have store-bought cake. So I might pick one up on my way to my mom, so that when we come back from dinner, we can have cake. Celebrate my sister's birthday without her here. I miss you. Anyway, okay. Let's get back to work. Let me get this editing done, and I hope you like the backdrop. the brightness out of the window. It's a gray day, but that is my sunroom front room window, my love seat, and I have the cat beds are on top of there. Can't believe they're not even in there right now. Probably because I did a little moving around today. They kind of hid from me. There's a cabinet over here. This black cabinet. It's got a screen door front on it. This is where I house all of my quilts that I've made, antique quilts that I've got. There's a basket on top, but my father and I made that cabinet together, and this one behind me is one I purchased at the Minnesota State Fairgrounds. 3 times a year, I think they have this big antique show, and that's where I purchased that from many years ago. So I've had that for quite a while. And it houses all of my collectible bowls that I get and other nicky-nacky things. Usable bowls and collectible bowls. So anyway, I'm a bowl freak. And anyway, I hope you all have a fabulous day. And thank you for watching. I want to especially thank my new subscribers. I'm very excited about that, and hopefully we'll have some new and exciting content to provide as well. Quilting is my #1, so if you're new, quilting is my #1 and cross stitch is my #2. So I'll be doing all my quilting updates first and then following up with my cross stitch. And this is #7, I believe, my videos. And so I'm kind of figuring out how it's all going to come together, and I'm going to just stick with mostly quilting updates and things like that. So we're going to try to finish up Color My World and then move on to the next one. So I'm going to need your help helping me decide. So I need some more subscribers for some more input, because we're going to go through all of my unfinished objects, UFOs, projects, and my next video. So you'll get to see more of my sewing room, tour the closet. Anyway, have fun, and happy St. Patrick's Day from yesterday. I know we're a day late now. I had to redo a couple of videos because I did this video for the quilting room portion of it, but the TV was on and it was really loud. And I think you just heard the furnace go off, and it hasn't gone off in a couple of days because the weather's been really nice here. So I apologize if you heard all that loud noise, but that was my furnace. It's a 100-year-old house, and so it makes a little noise. I like it. So anyway, I love you guys. Thank you for being here. And I'm not sure if we'll be back in 2 weeks or 4 weeks or 3 weeks, but I will get on as soon as I possibly can, as soon as I've got some content and some updates to make. Thanks. Love you. Bye now.